We're going to have a look in Excellence Exemplar for a written text. This is the 2012 exam, and the written text is one we study called Of Mice and Men. I'm going to show you how this student gained excellence. But let's look at the criteria. You must do two things in this written text. Firstly, show understanding of specified aspects. Secondly, use supporting evidence. If you do that and write a long enough essay, you can easily pass. Students often say to me, what does the word aspect mean? Aspect can be anything, such as the setting, which we'll look at today, the characters. Now, it may be character relationships, character development, could be a lot of things to do with character, or theme. In the NCEA exam, of course, the word for theme is idea or ideas. To get from an achieve to a merit, your understanding must be convincing. That means that perhaps the supporting evidence you use, the quotes, you use more than just one per body paragraph. You use quite a number of supporting evidence examples that can help you be more convincing. To get excellence, you must be perceptive. I always say, if you want to be perceptive, try to think about why the author wrote this text. So what's the purpose of the text? I want you to link back to the author wherever you can. Now obviously, for the setting question, which basically means time and place, you're looking at why John Steinbeck was writing about 1930s depression and putting characters into that situation. Think about the big picture and what you as a student in 2014-15 are actually learning about the 1930s. If you can do that, you might find a way to perception. On your screen you can see the question, which was question 4 in 2012 that the student chose. The first thing to look at is, it seems quite long, but really there's just a note which is very unusual, which is positioned under the question. The question, as normal, uses the word describe and explain, and there are two sentences. Describe at least one significant setting. Now, look at the words at least. You can do more than one setting in Of Mice and Men. Think about what the settings are in this novel. We've got very few. We've got the riverbank in chapters 1 and chapter 6. We've got the bunk room. We've got the stable. We've got Crooks's room. And that's it. So, which of those settings do you think is significant? It really doesn't matter. All of them are in some way. You can choose one of them, or you can choose all of them. But wait, look at what the note says. Setting is the time, place, circumstances. So I've only focused so far on place. What about time? You could be thinking about, of course, that this is in the 1930s. And 1930s was a time of depression. So you could incorporate that into your essay. Look at the second part of the question. Explain how the setting helped you to understand one or more key ideas in the text. Again, we're asked for key ideas or themes. And there's one theme that stands out in this particular novel, and of course that theme is the American dream, or dreams. George and Lenny, the key characters, have a very clear dream, and that is to own their own farm, or, as Lenny says, to live off the fat of the land. You could incorporate the American dream into this. The American dream to have independence, to get rich, to make money, to live profitably, to live well. So a lot of things could be brought into it. However, if you didn't want to go down the American dream path, you could think of another theme that ties in with this novel. And of course that theme is friendship or adversity. You could link adversity or the American dream to the setting of depression very successfully. And so when you think about it, there's a lot of different directions you can go and still get excellence in answering this question. So remember that word aspect we looked at in the previous slide. The aspect is setting. All you need to do is answer the question and use quotes in order to achieve. This is the introductory paragraph to the student's excellence answer. You'll notice that very early on the student uses keyword of setting to focus on the question. How the time setting, in this case, helps us understand the characters and how they're different. The student also focuses on the American Depression and the American Dream. So the words are continuously used to help the student focus. What the student also does is show how their essay is going to develop a little bit later on. Two place settings help the further understanding of these ideas. The idea of the American Dream. But also another idea which is mentioned up here, and that is the idea of how George and Lennie are different. The first setting they're going to be looking at is the pool on the riverbank. The second setting they're going to be looking at is the ranch. They're going to be examining how those help understand the American Dream and why George and Lennie stick together, which of course is the theme of friendship. So it's rather complicated. You can see why the student managed to do well in so few words, actually saying, I'm going to be writing an essay about the 1930s. I'm going to be looking at two place settings, the pool and the ranch, and I'm going to be looking at the themes of the American Dream and the theme of friendship. Of course you remember Peel. Let's see how this applies to our first body paragraph. First part of that body paragraph is on this page. Look at the point. In the 1930s, the Great Depression left much of the world without work or much income. So we've got a time setting, we've got the Depression, and a general statement about many people without much money or work. Of course, that's going to go on and talk about George and Lennie, who are travelling together in order to get a job. The idea of friendship is first introduced down here, when the writer talks about them needing each other and backs that up with a quote, I got you to look after me and you got me to look after you. Let's have a look again at Peel in the second body paragraph. Again, a very, very strong opening sentence. During the Great Depression, many individuals took on an American dream as a symbol of hope to escape the poverty of the time. Okay, so we've got the time period being discussed. We've got individuals taking on the American dream, and of course American dream is our idea in this particular question. There's our point. Now look at how it goes on to give examples. George and Lennie are no exception to this dream, but their difference is that they share it and truly believe they will achieve it. This is a clear explanation. Let's see if this goes on to give specific examples. The land that they want to buy is real. They know how much they need to get it and are prepared to sacrifice short-term rewards for it. Now this is continuing, I guess, with the explanation. While the other men travel into town every Saturday night, George and Lenny stay where they are, working and entertain themselves. It's interesting that the student said this because really if you read the novel carefully, this is not true. The novel is over the place of only a few days, and the one day, the one Saturday night, George actually does go into town with the men. He gives up those goals simply for short-term enjoyment. But anyway, you can still get excellence if you make a slight mistake. If you move on, one of the men in the ranch, Crooks, tells them, "Nobody gets to heaven and nobody gets no land." Well, here's a quote, obviously, so this is an example. Also, sometimes examples can be given within the text without quotes. I think the student was trying to do that when they talked about the travelling to town every Saturday night. The next body paragraph features another setting, and that is the pool. Here the student is trying to get to a high level by looking at a high level idea, and that is of course symbolism. The pool symbolises the dream that George and Lenny share, and so there again is our point. It is a Garden of Eden, a place where they seek rest before they start their new ranch placement in Chapter 1. This is an explanation. George tells Lenny that if he's in trouble he should return to the pool as they share their dream for land and a new lifestyle. This is an example. Without a quote. When at the end of the novel, at the end of the book, Lenny accidentally kills Curly's wife on the ranch, he flees to the pool where George finds him. Okay, there again is an extension of that example. The last few lines of the previous paragraph are quite high level in meaning, where at the pool, George kills Lenny, symbolically shattering the dream that they shared together. So, we've got the idea of friendship being shattered, we've got the idea of the American dream being shattered as well. The next paragraph focuses, of course, on the ranch, the other place setting the student is looking at. Have a read through this final body paragraph. I actually think to get to a higher mark, this got an E7. To get to an E8, I think that throughout the essay, the student needed to do a couple more things. Number one, the student needed to have a closer reference, so it needed better examples. It needed integrated quotations. If you look at this paragraph, there are no quotations here. To me, this weakens the argument that the idea of the ranch, where George and Lenny have to stick together and work on their dream that they're going to have of getting their own place. Having some quotes from the novel in here would have made this much, much better. Here's the conclusion. The settings 4 of Mice and Men help understand several key ideas in the text. So, setting up again with the key question and the words from the question, setting, ideas, and then linking to what those were, the Great Depression as a time period, and the places that they're looking at, the pool and the ranch, provide important setting in which these key ideas were shown. It links to friendship as well. Let's look at the last sentence. The significance of the American dream as a key idea was shown through the Great Depression and the pool is not very strong. And I believe the ending could have been a lot better if they'd taken more time over that last sentence and made it a very, very good one. However, as you can see, this essay is not perfect, but it did get an excellence. Can you do the same?